Hello, my name is Judine Slaughter. I'm with the United Black Writers Association. Today, I'm going to have an interview with the book character, Dr. Olivia C. Maxwell. The author is Cynthia Freeman Gibbs. Hello, Dr. Maxwell. How are you?
Hello, Judine. Thank you for being here with me today. It's a pleasure to be interviewed by you.
And it is a pleasure for you to take the time to interview me because I know that you are a very busy woman. I read your first book, the first book that Cynthia wrote about you, Reasonable Insanity. And towards the end of the book, you had gone to jail for one of your crimes, but really, I was just surprised you went that long for before you were even put in jail for your many crimes. Uh, you were you spent only 30 days. How did you manage to get out so fast?
Well, first, I must mention that you can't say only 30 days. It was a very dark point of my life. For anyone who didn't read Reasonable Insanity, let me give you some background information. I found out that my husband, Malcolm, the father of my two children, was cheating on me, not with one, but multiple women. I guess you can say that I snapped and I set our house on fire, not knowing that our children were in the house. As a result, I turned myself in and went to jail for 30 days, where I was away from my children and friends, and only my very best friend, Savvy, came to visit me. So 30 days is a long time. The reason I didn't have to serve more time is because Malcolm wrote a letter to the judge and asked for me to be released. The real deal is he knew he couldn't take care of the kids on his own. If you recall from the first book, I was the breadwinner in our family as a successful psychologist. Malcolm's income was never consistent. I must admit, I spoiled him rotten. So he needed me, and he knew he was the guilty one who ruined everything. That is the reason why I was released.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that background. So in the second book, you have apparently given Cynthia more food for the fodder in Insatiable Revenge. What is up with Malcolm? What's going on? Are you two still together?
Judine, are you kidding me? We're only together on paper. I filed for a divorce while I was in jail. He is my soon to be ex husband, who, by the way, has a fiance. Yes, you heard me right. He is engaged while we are still married.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So are you getting counseling? It seems like you have a lot of rage.
Oh, who wouldn't have a lot of rage after living my life? I have mandatory counseling sessions with Dr. Blair Fluellen. He is a colleague of mine who has a strong interest in me and my well being. I desire to get rid of this insatiable feeling I have for revenge, and he's working with me on that.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier, and I read in your first book, you have two children, Simone and Christian. What's going on with them? What's going on with the children?
Oh, my beautiful children. Simone is 11 and Christian is 9. They are my heartbeats, and I must admit that my reckless behavior in setting our home on fire has turned their worlds upside down. They lost everything in the fire. Some of the parents of their friends will no longer let their kids play with mine. I hear that they call me psycho mom. If
Mm.
I could turn back the hands of time, I never would have set our house on fire if I'd known the impact it would have on my children.
I am so sorry to hear that. What about your best friend, Savvy? We were hoping she would have a love life. Is there any hope for that?
My girl Savvy. She's my ride or die best friend ever since we were in college. Now, we did have a 10-year period of separation due to me being a toxic friend and pulling her into my shenanigans. However, she has forgiven me and we are tighter than ever. She is dating and she met this thug version of Idris Elba and also a man named Pharrell, who is quite full of himself. I don't even know why she's giving him the time of day. But Savvy, she's also doing some things in her career, which I'm very proud of her about. But yes, Cynthia put her in this book as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, I know that you mentioned that your husband, not yet divorced, has a fiance. Are there any entanglements with you?
Oh my goodness. Well, I personally would rather focus on improving myself and getting my life together without involving anybody else, and especially any knuckleheads who may try to ruin my life. So don't forget, Judine, I am still married. Why would I do any dating or have any types of entanglements while I'm still married to
Well,
Malcolm?
that's, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. So, you dealt with bulimia previously. What's next in your life? What do you want to happen next?
So you mentioned the bulimia. Bulimia, it dominated my life for 10 years. I had become an expert in throwing up without anyone ever knowing. I'm thankful that the inpatient facility that I checked myself into helped me to conquer bulimia for good. I'm especially concerned about Simone because she has my temperament and reminds me of myself when I look at her. I pray she doesn't indulge in self harming behaviors like I did when I allowed bulimia to take over my life. So, as far as what's next for me, I want to be on Team Righteous instead of Team Ratchet. That is going to take some work because sometimes I get drawn back into reckless behavior, but I would love to have peace and get rid of the feelings of anger in my day to day. I want my children back from Malcolm, and I want my children's lives to be normal again. I also want my career as a psychologist to flourish again and to mend my reputation in the community. So that's what I want ultimately.
What? Two or three are gathered, there God is. We're all praying for you. I just want to mention, I just finished reading a book by Anissa Gray, The Care and Feeding of Ravenously Hungry Girls. And the wife suffered from bulimia, and one of her twin daughters also had bulimia.
Oh my.
Yep. Yes. So please, please, I hope when you are relating your story to Cynthia to keep an eye on Simone.
Yes, most definitely. Simone is in counseling, and I just really pray that she doesn't take on doing some of the same things that I did.
Well, Dr. Olivia C. Maxwell, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me today. And I want to thank the author, Cynthia Freeman Gibbs, for doing this creative interview.
Well, thank you, Jadine, for the interview. And I'm afraid I have to drop off right now, but please tell Cynthia hello for me when she gets on.
I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, Cynthia. We can't hear you. Cynthia?
There we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right. How's everybody doing?
Oh,
Oh, there's my sister. Hey, Chevelle.
and so Dr. Olivia C. Maxwell said, thank you for putting her words into print and for giving her the opportunity for the interview.
Oh, it was a joy to be able to write about her life again, and I'm just amazed that she even let me do it because she's got a lot going on, and everybody. I can't imagine that many people would want to have someone digging into their life and putting it out for the world to see.
Hmm. So, did you want to take some questions from the audience?
Yes, I would love to, please.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? If you do, please turn on your mics. No questions? Okay, well, while you're thinking, Cynthia, please tell us about your next release.
Okay, so the one that has released today, Insatiable Revenge. You had a chance to hear Olivia mention that there's some stuff going on with Malcolm and how he does have a fiance now, even though they're still engaged. And so I heard you mention, you asked her about her rage, and so yeah, she's still quite angry. She's quite furious because even though Malcolm got her out of prison, she's mad because he did cheat on her. And on that website, Large Luscious Latina Ladies Love Black Men, when she found out about that, she just went berserk. So she was fuming on that while she was behind bars. And now that she's out, she's now having to confront Malcolm and his new fiance. And then also, Malcolm wants to take the kids out of the state. He wants to move them out of San Antonio, out of Texas completely. So, so she's, you'll see in Insatiable Revenge where she's got to work through these feelings of revenge. And so seeing the psychologist is helping her. At least we think it is somewhat, kind of, sort of, but, and you heard her desire to have peace in her life. One thing she didn't mention though, I know you were asking her about dating. Savvy wants to hook her up. And so there are some other guys that kind of float through the book that you will get a chance to meet. There's a guy named Durbin. There's another guy named Brinson. And so, yeah, you'll get a chance to see a little more about some other people that are in their world.
Thank you, Cynthia. One thing that we hadn't discussed, I think sometimes there are many women who have a little bit of reasonable insanity and insatiable revenge.
Truth. Yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are a lot of Olivias out there, and the whole thing about wearing a mask and acting one way, but then really there's all this decay and dying going on inside. We all know how to put on that face and look professional when we're supposed to, but sometimes there's a lot more going on, and the people closest to them have no idea. So in the case of Olivia, here it is, she's having issues in relationships, and her girl Savvy has tried to bail her out many times and keep her from doing that, kind of like that little angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. Angel telling you, don't you do that. And the devil's like, go ahead, it feels good. Go ahead and do that. So Olivia's got a lot of that going on. So yeah, and she figures that her insanity is reasonable and now her revenge is insatiable. So there's a lot happening there.
And I see the cover of the second book has a little bit of fire in the background.
Yes, a little devil. I tell you, things
In
are
the
hot.
first book. Oh, goodness.
Oh, it looks like Chevelle has a question.
All right, fantastic. Let's see. Go ahead, Chevelle. Tell us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I was wondering, is there anything that would make Dr. Olivia C. Maxwell happy and it would be sustainable?
Ooh. So I think that for Olivia to truly find sustainable happiness, first, she has to fix herself and stop looking at the wrong people, involving herself. If you notice, she jumps into relationships really fast.
Mhm.
And so I think that's part of the problem, is that she gets in too quick and then expects them to treat her a certain way, and she doesn't really know them. And so for her to find that happiness, she has to be careful about who she's putting into her circle. And then I think that would help. And then also, I think if she's a little self-centered, well, very self-centered. And I think if she refocuses on her children and making sure that she's not living this reckless life that is putting them, impacting their lives. Because if you think about it, with the fire, their whole world was just turned upside down. And even though her plan was just only to kill Malcolm, which isn't a good thing, but but to find out that her own kids were in the house and now their lives are totally messed up. So she has to refocus. If she wants to find happiness that's sustainable, refocus on the people that she lets into her world, and also make sure she's taking care of her responsibilities as a parent. And then also refocusing on her career as a psychologist. She worked hard for those degrees and enjoys it. And now, right now, she can't be happy because she's not seeing patients. She's not able to do what she loves. So that was a great question, Chevy.
Thank you.
So I had mentioned to you earlier, this is going back with her reasonable insanity. When I was married, I'm divorced now, but when I was married, I had threatened to slash the tires of my car so that my husband would not be able to drive it.
Woo! Woo, woo, woo. But so how'd that turn out, girl? I might need to come talk to you about writing a book.
I did not do that.
Oh.
The kids were out there. It was dark. It was late. And so I didn't do it. But
good.
Sometimes, and so I didn't have a savvy there to reel me in. But I think that it's good to have that close girlfriend, or in some people's case, that close friend, no matter what sex they might be, to help you. So that's why I'm glad that you are including Savvy in the next book, because that sisterhood is so important, especially now with things going on in the world. And we're just learning, Black women have had to carry a lot on our shoulders for a very long time. So, and they're saying now that we carry the emotional trauma of our mothers, our grandmothers, for each generation, we carry that emotional trauma. So is it possible that maybe Olivia is carrying some trauma from her mother or her grandmother?
Most definitely. If you think about it from reasonable insanity, her own mother experienced having her father, so her mother's father, set their house on fire and tried to kill his entire family, but he was the only one that didn't make it out of the family. So he committed suicide in this fire while everyone else escaped. So she had that, her mother had that trauma. And then on top of that, I'm not quite sure what else her mother has been through, but she's just a mean woman based on the way that we've seen how she treats Olivia. The colorism, treating Olivia differently because Olivia is a darker skin tone and her mother is lighter skin. But I think someone who does that to their child is they obviously have something within going on that they just don't love about themselves. And then also just when Olivia's brother committed suicide with the belt that his mother gave him for Christmas, she was in denial all that time that he had mental illness going on in his life. So she was not taking care of his needs as his mother, and he suffered and the rest of the family suffered as a result. So yeah, there's some trauma that I think that Olivia, it's been passed on into her world, and I'm sure Simone, as you mentioned earlier, hopefully she's doing some things to protect Simone.
Okay. Well, let's talk about your next book.
Okay. So I am waiting for the next release, which is on November the 25th. It is called Jack Dante LaBanx and the Beanstalk, and it is a twisted fairy tale fantasy. So we all know the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, and this time Jack, he thinks his treasure is the gold that he was told he thought he would find. And actually he did find gold, but he also finds another treasure, which is Naomi. And she happens to be the wife, the disgruntled wife of the giant. And the giant, he's an asthmatic who is really mean to her. So I have asthma, nothing against asthmatics, but that's just, his name is Darius, and he's mean. And so Naomi, she's looking for love, looking to be loved. And so Jack is just an interesting person for her to encounter. So that's going to be released on November 25th. It's already available on Amazon for pre-order, or even through my website. I have the link there for that.
Okay, and here's the link where you can purchase all three of Cynthia's books: Reasonable Insanity, Insatiable Revenge, and Dante and the Beanstalk. That's the shortened version.
Yes.
So thank you, Cynthia. I really appreciate your taking the time to let me interview you and Dr. Olivia C. Maxwell.
And Judine, I thank you for, first of all, for taking the time to talk to Dr. Maxwell. And I don't think anybody else has ever interviewed her before. So that was really special to her. And thank you for interviewing me. It's been a pleasure knowing you. And I appreciate all that United Black Writers Association is doing, and look forward to talking with you again soon. And thank everybody for tuning in today.
Thank you. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.